Welcome to the SGM training video, School Security. During this video, we will be explaining the types of schools, procedures, and incidents that you may come in contact with while working at a school. We will also be discussing entry procedures, patrolling, and other important features that you should become familiar with and be aware of. If you have any questions about this video, please consult with your supervisor for assistance. There's a lot that goes into school security training. This training video just touches on some of the more frequent or important topics. We suggest that as a security officer that you be proactive and obtain additional training in addition to this video to help better understand all aspects of what may be expected in your day-to-day routine, as well as help reduce any possible liability to you or your company. In the United States, the first schools began in the 13 original colonies in the 17th century. The Boston Latin School, which was founded in 1635, was the first public school and is the oldest existing school in the country today. After the American Revolution, education became a higher priority. States quickly began to establish public schools. More and more states began to require school attendance. By 1918, every state required students to complete elementary school. Educational improvements grew by leaps and bounds during the 20th century, leading to the advanced systems we have today, consisting of schools, colleges, and vocational schools. Today, there are over 130,000 public and private schools in the U.S., with an average of 527 students per school. An increase in schools and students has also brought an increase in crimes and school attacks. As crime and attacks have progressed in modern years, we see that a large number of schools now employ a school security officer to help deter any of these issues. The role and responsibility of a school security officer. Various types of security are important and should be in place for a school's building and its surrounding property. There should be cameras throughout the building, in the parking lots, and various other areas throughout the school's property. Additionally, there should be single entryways into the building and access control technology, all of which help control activities in and around the building. All of this is great, but many schools have also required a dedicated security officer to be proactive as the eyes and ears for the school grounds. While technology certainly plays an important role, dedicated security officers help prevent an incident from occurring. Security officers play an important vital role in assisting in the safety of a school. So what's an SSO and an SRO? Well, there are typically two main types of security employees at schools. The school security officer, sometimes called an SSO, and the school resource officer, sometimes called an SRO. Both are responsible for helping to ensure the safety, security, and welfare of students, staff, and visitors. The main difference between a security officer and a resource officer is that a school security officer is a trained security officer who is not an active duty law enforcement or police officer. A school resource officer is usually defined as a law enforcement officer, and they are assigned to work in schools as part of an agreement with a school district. Larger schools or schools at higher risk areas sometimes employ both school resource officers and school security officers. An armed security officer versus an unarmed security officer. An armed security officer typically means a person employed to safeguard and protect persons and property, and one who carries or has access to a firearm in the performance of their duties. An unarmed security officer means any person who performs the functions of observing, detecting, reporting, and notifying authorities. They also do not carry or have access to a firearm while on duty. Apprehension versus prevention. Apprehension can be defined as the seizure and arrest of a person who has committed a crime. Prevention can be defined as a practice that is intended to act as a deterrent to help stop crimes. Successful crime prevention programs help reduce crimes and save lives. Incident reports. Incident reports will be an important documentation tool in your duties. Incident reports document actions taken during and after an event. It's always a good idea to take cell phone pictures and email them to your supervisor or your office database for further documentation. Incident reports should always be clear and include as much documentation as you can provide. These can become very important evidence should a court case ever arise or if you need to testify at a later date. School security officer role. School security officers provide an additional resource to students as a protector and often a mentor. Your uniform presence also helps deter criminal activity. Security officers can also serve as a role model and should dress and groom themselves professionally. As a security officer, your roles and responsibilities while working at a school will be very different than many other posts that you may have worked at. A major part of a security officer's duty is to observe and report. If at any time you need assistance on a site, do not hesitate to contact your supervisor or call 911. An important responsibility of the security officer also includes patrolling the school campus, both inside and outside frequently. School security officers serve several purposes. They can help escort visitors to their destination, provide entry and exit protection, and even respond to some rare threats. Having a security officer on site can hopefully mean a faster response to incidents. Security officers may be used to help control access, making sure that people who are on campus are authorized to be there. Some officers may also monitor security cameras in a control room. High-risk areas that have been identified by your company or post instructions are potential trouble spots and typically need extra observation. Be mindful of this. Some vital roles of a security officer include checking doors, gates, and windows, and noting any security breaches. Additional roles of an officer also include patrolling parking lots, bus stop areas, outdoor public spaces, and providing security during athletic and other after-school activities. A security officer should be as visible as possible throughout the school. This includes when students are changing classes, at lunches, and in the hallways. The more visible you are, the better chance of deterring a crime or attack. Some sites will require you to assist with escorting disruptive students out of a classroom. You should consult with your supervisor and post instructions on what your duties are and what is expected of you. Many companies have the security officer verbally tell a disruptive student to leave and go to the front office. If they do not leave the classroom, the officer would typically then notify the school administrator and police department if necessary. Because of liability issues, many security officers are not allowed to physically remove a student unless there is a threat to other students and staff, or if the security officer is defending themselves when being physically attacked. Again, consult with your supervisor for a review of your site's instructions concerning this. If an incident occurs, it's okay to be nosy. You want to find out all the facts, but you're also there to help protect all the students and staff from any attacks or criminal activity. Don't be afraid to ask questions. As a security officer, you should also be in constant contact with the school staff. This will help keep them and you informed of any security issues that may arise. Never discuss anything with the media. If the media keeps asking you questions, politely refer them to the school administrator or your supervisor. Typically, the roles of a school consist of the following: the Board of Education, a superintendent, principals, vice principals, faculty, and administrative staff. Then you have the ancillary groups. These consist of parent-teacher associations, student groups, a site council, which is a group that works with the principal to develop, review, and evaluate school improvement programs, booster clubs. This is generally run and organized by the parents of the students. It's not a social club. Its main function is to develop support for the student programs. And advisory groups. This consists of parents, teachers, non-instructional school staff, a community member, and in some cases, students. They help to advise the principal on matters that promote high expectations and high achievement for all students. As a security officer, you will typically come in contact with law enforcement officers. It's a good idea to build a relationship with the police, fire, and ambulance employees. This develops better communication between everyone and also helps when they respond to an emergency at your school. Everyone will not only know who the proper staff is, but will assist with faster communication in the event of an emergency. You may also be involved with visitor procedures to help prohibit unauthorized persons from entering the building. Review your post instructions with your supervisor to learn the rules for visitor entry at your site. This is a very important function that you need to understand. Most schools do not allow visitor entry without first checking in at the office and being issued a visitor badge at a minimum. Some schools require visitors to be escorted by security or a staff member while on the property. Some schools have adapted computer software programs along with an access control system that allows schools to track and document all visitors. These typically allow a quick scan of a driver's license, and a computer system instantly screens for many different offenses and warrants. If the computer clears a visitor's badge is printed featuring their name, photo, date, time, and their destination. If at any time you're on patrol and an unknown visitor or a visitor without a badge is seen wandering the hallways or property, don't hesitate to stop and politely question them. You want to make sure that they're authorized. You will need to call or radio the visitor administration staff to verify that they're allowed on the property. If they're not, you may be required to call the police department or escort them off the property, depending on your post instructions. Remember to be cautious and observant if you stop someone. There could always be a chance that they are waiting to do harm to people in the building, and you should be very cautious when in their presence. Your school and company should have a safe school plan in place. This typically identifies procedures to help keep the environment safe, as well as emergency procedures to follow should something happen. Study the plan and get to know it well. Review it with your supervisor for a complete understanding. You should immediately notify the appropriate legal authorities if you discover any drug or alcohol abuse, suicide attempts, and severe medical conditions. A thorough incident report should always be completed. Metal detectors. If used on everyone, it's typically allowed. If singling someone out, you must have reasonable cause and suspicion. Check your policy and state laws as they vary. Magnetometers. Magnetometers are used to speed up the search process. They detect metal objects without having to physically search or pat down a person. They are less intrusive. They provide a general but not the exact location of metal objects. Never let people walk fast through a magnetometer. Speeding people through fast causes the system to possibly miss most metal objects. Handheld metal detectors, or wands. Wands are also used when the magnetometer alarm sounds. The officer can scan the person. Sometimes a wand is the only metal detection tool being used because magnetometers are extremely expensive. If anyone refuses or becomes confrontational, call your supervisor and the school administrator. Don't allow entry until authorized by your supervisor. Know the building you work in. You should become familiar with the school and its property. Here are a few things that you should become familiar with. The exterior doors, such as public, staff, and classroom doors, storage rooms and closets, custodial areas, the restrooms for both student and staff, the fire alarm pull station locations, the alarmed areas, and the utility shutoffs and distribution points. Know the students. Getting to know the students at a school helps build a good relationship, as well as students viewing you as an authority figure at the school. Here are a few things that you should become familiar with. Get to know the student body officials. Get to know the popular kids. Know the unpopular kids. Learn what gangs, if any, are in your school. Know who the gang members are, and get to know the loners. Know the staff. Learn who will support you. Learn who you can trust and confide in. Know who the challenging staff are, and earn the staff's support and trust. Don't demand it. Here are a few terms that you should familiarize yourself with. Attitude. One of the most important qualities of a school security officer. Your attitude towards others leaves a strong impression. You must maintain a positive attitude and be courteous, well-groomed, and knowledgeable about your duties. The golden rule. Always treat others how you would like to be treated. This relates to having a positive attitude. Be respectful towards others, and they're more likely to be respectful in return. In loco parentis. When minor children are entrusted by parents to a school, the parents delegate to the school certain responsibilities for their children, and the school has certain liabilities. In effect, the school and the teachers take some of the responsibility and some of the authority of the parents. The exact extent and nature of this responsibility and power vary from state and jurisdictions. Review with your supervisor if you require further explanation and details. Parens patria. Parens patria is Latin for parent of the people. Under parens patria, a state or court has a parental and protective role over its citizens or others subject to its jurisdiction. School discipline. School discipline relates to actions taken by teachers or school organizations. School disciplinary action can consist of detention, counseling, suspension, and even expulsion. Crimes. Crimes can often occur on a school campus. Crimes are typically defined in either an infraction, a misdemeanor, or a felony. Infraction. Infractions are petty offenses that carry the possibility of a fine, but no jail time. A misdemeanor. A misdemeanor is a type of offense punishable under criminal law. A misdemeanor is typically a crime punishable by less than 12 months in jail. Community service, probation, fines, and imprisonments for less than a year are commonly issued punishments for misdemeanors. Felony crime. In general, a felony can be defined as a criminal offense that results in a prison sentence of 1 year or longer. They tend to be crimes that involve an element of violence and are considered harmful or dangerous to society. Felony crimes also include some of the most serious types of crimes that a person can commit, such as first-degree murder and arson. Search and seizure. Can school security officers perform a search and seizure? Well, that's a tricky question, and it depends on what state and jurisdiction you're working in. Ruling on the side of caution, the answer is typically no. It's something that a police officer or a school staff authorized person would do. However, we suggest that you check with your state and supervisor to make sure that you're aware of the allowable exercises in your area. You don't want to cause a liability. We suggest that you obtain additional training from a professional school security instructor on this subject. Probable cause and/or reasonable suspicion is usually always required. Some states may allow the school security officer to perform a search and seizure as long as there's probable cause. If your license and jurisdiction allow this, we highly recommend that you notify your supervisor before this action is performed. And it's always best to have 1 or 2 additional staff or security with you to be a witness should someone file a claim against you at a later date. Make sure to document everything. If allowed, have your witness video the search with their cell phone. Can a student's locker or desk be searched? While it varies from state to state, generally, any item that is considered property of the school can be searched by the school. School staff can also give permission to the police to look in a locker or desk. Schools should have a policy on this, and you should familiarize yourself with this policy. Your company policy may typically require that the school staff or police be the ones to do the search and not you. They may ask you to be present to be a witness, however. Defiance. As a security officer, you're stationed at your site to observe and report. There may be times where you will request students to disperse an area. However, there may be school students who become defiant and challenge your authority or not respond back to you. This can be irritating for a security officer, but you must remember to remain calm and professional. If they further defy you, you should notify the school administrator and your supervisor for further instructions. Always make sure to prepare a thorough incident report. Visitor control. Your school should have a visitor control procedure in place to help keep the property safer. Get to know these policies and procedures. Helping to control and reduce school access. Here are some helpful things that can help. There should be one main entrance with a sign displaying it as the main entrance. There should be a sign in, sign out, and visitor escort procedure in place. Some schools have reconfigured the main entrance design so that there is a secondary set of secure doors and all traffic is funneled into the main office before they can gain access into the school. A school should consider the use of cameras, intercoms, and buzzers at the main entrance. Secure custodial entrances and delivery doors during and after school hours. It's a good idea to require all school doors to be closed and secured from the outside while cleaning personnel and after-hour employees work inside the building during evening and night hours. You don't want the possibility of an attacker coming in at night and hiding out to wait until the school starts the next day. If you see a door propped open, secure it and immediately notify your supervisor or the school contact staff person. What if somebody's already breached the school and is inside? Don't assume that just because you closed the door that all is well. There could be a lot going on inside already. Attacker facts. In a study conducted by the Secret Service, it was discovered that there is no standard profile of a student attacker, nor is there a profile for the type of school that's been targeted. Attackers usually had multiple motives, the most common involving a grievance with classmates. Most attackers used firearms. Half of the attackers had interest in violent topics. All attackers experienced social stress involving their relationship with peers or romantic partners. Most attackers were victims of bullying. And most attackers had a history of school disciplinary actions, and many had prior run-ins with law enforcement. Here is a recommendation of actions to take should you have a trespasser on your site. Consult with your supervisor for your company's exact policy on this matter. You should notify your supervisor, staff, and 911. Secure all doors. Request the school administrator to put lockdown procedures in place until all areas are cleared and safe. Be cautious. Don't rush a trespasser. They might have a gun. If you're in a room with students, barricade the door. In the case of an active shooter, the Department of Homeland Security recommends that you follow the run, hide, fight format. Let's take a brief look at that.
Remember, run, hide, or fight. Run. Wherever you go, be aware of alternate exits. Quickly and cautiously evacuate in a direction away from the attacker. Don't hesitate. Seconds matter. Remember windows and emergency exits. Leave belongings behind. Keep your empty hands raised and clearly visible when exiting a building. Follow all instructions from the police. Don't stop until you're sure you've reached a safe location. Hide. If there is no safe escape route, find a good hiding place. Lock and barricade the door. Silence cell phones. Prepare a defense plan. Fight. Fight only as a last resort. Use available objects as improvised weapons. Use teamwork and surprise. A coordinated ambush can incapacitate an attacker. You're fighting for your life. Don't fight fair.
In case of a fire at your school post, pull and sound the fire alarm pull station. Notify 911, your supervisor, and school administrator immediately. Help evacuate students from the building. Have staff members stand safely outside of each building's door area to monitor and make sure a criminal does not try and enter during the chaos of evacuations. Do not allow anyone entry back into the building until it's been cleared by the fire department and your supervisor or school administrator. If your normal procedure for school entry is through one main door with a metal detector, then that's how the school should re-enter the building. Don't take any chances. In case of a medical emergency, if an ambulance arrives at your school, you should greet them and escort them into the building. You will need to call or radio the school administrator or your supervisor immediately to let them know of their arrival. If there are more than one ambulance on the property, enlist a staff member to act as a second escort for the other EMT workers. You will want to continue to monitor the area you are moving into for any suspicious activity. When chaos is occurring, this is a welcome situation for a criminal to try and enter a property. Drugs on campus. Drug abuse, illegal drug trafficking, and drug overdoses don't seem to be going away. Security officers are continuously being confronted with this explosive issue. If you see students using or selling illegal drugs, you must follow your site's post instructions regarding this and call 911 for law enforcement assistance. Many post instructions and school policies do not allow you to apprehend students, but advise you to call 911 for police assistance to handle the situation. Be cautious and review with your supervisor what actions you are or not allowed to take on your particular site. Weapons on campus. If you discover that someone on the school property is carrying a weapon, you should immediately call 911 and your supervisor. Advise the school administrator to put the school property on lockdown and treat the situation as you would as an active shooter. You need to be extremely cautious until the situation is resolved by the police. Disasters and emergencies. Your school and company should have a disaster relief plan in place. What should be done in the event of an earthquake, fire, tornado, or other type of disaster? Consult with your company policy and familiarize yourself with the actions that will be required from you should a disaster occur at your particular school. Sporting events. During sporting events, the school and areas not being used are typically secured except where the event is taking place and the locker rooms for that event. The only other school access typically allowed are the exit doors for spectators. There's usually no need for any other areas in the school to be open for access, and they should be kept locked and secured. It's always best to minimize any potential access for criminal activity. The Incident Command System, also known as ICS. The Incident Command System is a standardized approach to the command, control, and coordination of an emergency response. The ICS consists of a standard management hierarchy and procedures for managing temporary incidents of any size. The ICS was initially developed to address problems for responses to wildfires in California and Arizona, but is now a component of the National Incident Management System in the U.S., where it has evolved into use in all hazard situations, ranging from active shootings to hazmat scenes. Personnel are assigned according to standards and procedures previously established by participating authorities. The ICS is a system designed to be used or applied from the time an incident occurs until the requirement for management and operations no longer exists. Each individual participating in the operations report to only one supervisor. The command staff. A typical command staff consists of a safety officer, a public information officer, and a liaison officer. The general staff typically consists of an operations section chief, a planning section chief, a finance administration section chief, and a logistics section chief. ICS can also be used as an effective management structure for pre-planned, non-emergency events such as football games or a school graduation. Mediation. Many schools will utilize mediation to help resolve school conflicts. Disagreements can escalate and put students and staff in possible danger. If using mediation, this can hopefully help stop the threat of possible further verbal or physical fights. Mediation is a private meeting where the student and the school try to reach an agreement with the help of a neutral third party. The person helping you is called a mediator. The mediator has professional training and isn't on either side. Student behavior. Many mental health professionals believe that there's a strong relationship between personality disorders and violence. Here are just a few of the more prominent disorders that have been found with violent offenders. Antisocial personality disorder. This is a particularly challenging type of personality disorder characterized by impulsive, irresponsible, and often criminal behavior. Some people with antisocial personality disorder can be manipulative, deceitful, and reckless. They typically don't care about other people's feelings. Borderline personality disorder. This is a disorder of mood and how a person interacts with others. It's the most commonly recognized personality disorder. Schizophrenia. This is a severe long-term mental health condition. It causes a range of different psychological symptoms. Doctors often describe schizophrenia as a type of psychosis. This means the person may not always be able to distinguish their own thoughts and ideas from reality. Bipolar disorder. A bipolar disorder is a condition that affects your moods, which can swing from one extreme to another. Many schools employ mental health professionals to help students in need. Some of the most common types of professionals that may be found in a school include school psychologists. A school psychologist conducts evaluations for special education services and also crisis intervention support, counseling services, and consultation to staff and parents. School social workers. School social workers are often called on to help students, families, and teachers address problems such as truancy, over-aggressive behaviors, and rebelliousness. Bullying. School bullying refers to one or more perpetrators who have a greater physical or social power than their victim and act aggressively towards their victim by verbal or physical means. It's estimated that 28% of students ages 12 through 18 have been bullied at school. Typically, schools with a positive climate strive to prevent all forms of bullying. Types of bullying: physical, emotional, verbal, cyberbullying, such as social media posts and threats, and sexual bullying. Student records privacy. Student records are confidential. As a security officer, you typically don't have access to a student's records. But if you accidentally did obtain access, you must keep everything confidential and not release any information to anyone. For instance, you may be patrolling the premises and find a student record on the ground that was accidentally dropped. This record should be given to the school administrator, and an incident report should also be completed to document this. No information that you discovered on that record is allowed to be disclosed to the public. Cultural differences. Schools are full of students from all walks of life. There are many different cultures that blend during the school day. You need to be aware of this and treat all students neutrally. Don't judge any students. Don't joke around with them because you think you're doing something that their culture allows. This could actually offend someone. You want to always remain a professional security officer. Students with special needs. Most schools have students with special needs attending daily classes. Their day-to-day routine at a school can be different than many other students. As a school security officer, you should be aware of this. Take time to say hello. Hold a door open if it's needed. This helps keep your image professional and lets them know that you're there to help them. Consult with your supervisor to review your company's policy. Gangs. Gangs have had a presence in schools throughout the recent years. Be mindful of this. As we've discussed, make sure to familiarize yourself with your company policy regarding illegal acts and how you respond to gang complaints at your property. Patrolling. Beginning a foot patrol. After advising the appropriate party, the security officer should then start the initial patrol. Make notes of any discrepancies, broken, missing, or vandalized situations. Remember, observe and report. Your company and client are depending on your patrols to let them know of any issues and to help deter possible crimes. Techniques. Always stop, look, and listen before entering an area. Interior foot patrols of building or structures should never be done in the dark. The interior lights should be turned on immediately upon entry. This will prevent the officer from having a limited view of the interior. Officers should never develop the routine of turning lights on during entry and then immediately turning them off on exiting. This clearly shows anyone watching from the outside their exact location and direction of travel. Leave some lights on until the completion of your patrol. Many school patrols include having the officer check hallways, restrooms, locker rooms, lunch rooms, break rooms, empty classrooms and offices, the gymnasium, any pools, parking lots, and playing fields. Changing patterns. By changing your patrol pattern often, it creates unpredictability and helps to deter criminals who are monitoring your patterns. Not knowing your patrol pattern will hopefully cause them to leave the property. Cleaning crews. While most cleaning staff are trustworthy, sometimes there is a bad apple. Be mindful and on the lookout for the following. Trash carts can conceal office equipment or other stolen items. If your post instructions allow, you should periodically check them. Crews can possibly be observed in unauthorized rooms. If you find a cleaning crew in an unauthorized room, you should approach them and question why they are there. You should also contact your supervisor for further instructions of this violation. Observe when trash is being loaded into dumpsters. This is another way for the cleaning crews to transport stolen items. They load it in the dumpster and then they come back later to pick it up. Fences. Look for cuts in a fence. Check all the gates. Pull on the padlocks to be sure that they're locked. A common ploy is to close the lock but not engage it. Always check the locks. Fire extinguishers. Check all fire extinguishers once every tour of duty. Check the expiration dates. If expired, document and report it. Be friendly and professional. Good communication skills are priceless in every aspect of a security officer's job. In every situation that includes contact with other people, security officers need to be respectful and empathetic. The ability to talk to people and understand their point of view can be a key to help solve even the most complicated issues and help prevent many threats. It's vital that you're friendly, professional, and ready to help. Being polite and friendly while maintaining professionalism goes a long way. Your job likely comes with some specific rules for dealing with many issues, from confrontations to emergencies. It might not always be easy to do your job within the parameters, but you should learn to prioritize your main duties with the small things that set you apart. It's important to remember one of the most important duties of a security officer: observe and report. We hope that this training video has helped you learn more about working as a security officer at a school. If you have any questions about the material in this video, please consult with your supervisor. This concludes this SGM video.